Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sanchi, and on behalf of Shine.com, I welcome you all to Shine Power Perspective. Shine Power Perspectives is a first of its kind virtual debate series on issues that matter to the HR community. Top HR leaders will share their views with the audience about various trending HR topics in a rapid fire mode, which will be for or against the topics. Now, what's different? So, it's you who decide the topic. To make this experience exceptionally interactive for you, we are also introducing a new segment, Mystery Topic, which will let you, the audience, choose a topic of your choice for the speakers via a poll conducted live at the event. Not only this, you will also get a chance to interact with the speakers on every issue with a short Q&A after each and every round of debate. Now, I would like to introduce the panelists today. We have Dr. Sudhanshu Pathak, TA Head, JK Tires and Industries Limited, Mr. Majid Khan, TA Head, Emphasis Limited, Mr. Salil Panse, Head Talent Acquisition India, Mondelez India Foods Limited, Mr. Jagmohan Singh Rishi, Associate Vice President, Talent Development, Business Excellence and Digital Strategy, Wockhardt Limited. Now, I would like to introduce our first topic for the debate, and each speaker will get 5 minutes each to share their views. Audience can ask questions in Q&A options related to this topic. The first topic is remote working, a boon or a bane. We are open to Q&A, and speakers will answer your questions in some time. So, I would request our panelists to start with the debate. Mr. Sudhanshu, would you like to start?
So should I start?
Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me and giving this topic this afternoon, which is extremely important. And at this point of time, every corporate is talking about it. If you ask me very briefly that whether this remote working is a boon or bane, I would first say that it will depend on various factors: the industry, the nature of work of that industry, employee profile, number of years in the corporate world, age group, gender, even to some extent monthly income rate, and also nature of household that an employee lives with, whether it is a nuclear family, it's a joint family, and there will be many other factors that will decide effectiveness, productivity, or lack of effectiveness, lack of productivity when you go to apply remote working. Remote working, I am actually thinking it is work from home kind of a context. If I talk few good things, great things about as boon for this, that it definitely helped in less wastage of time. Commuting and all those things would take a lot of time. It is also better concentration. If I have to work on a certain very important project at home, probably I will not be distracted by some other things. Normally come some guest jump in my cabin or some other things keep coming. I would also say that saving cost in terms of fuel and mental stress because of driving. And as you know that these days, everywhere, wherever you drive, there is a lot of issues in terms of traffic. I would also say there are better punctuality, no time lag. I can tell you that if I have to virtually, I have to conduct a meeting, dot 4 o'clock, you can get everyone. But is to happen in the office situation, people might take a little 5-10 minutes in reaching out the conference room or something like that. I would also say that at times that support in terms of meeting urgency at home. This is also, I look at as a positive aspect that after all, we are family social being, and probably family feels a bit more, confident, comfortable if the person at home, probably in urgency, not of course they will disturb time and again, but in urgency, they can find the support available. And also that find time to do something because it will save little time. So there are certain hobbies, certain extracurricular activities one can even get into. So these are the great advantages, which I would say as boon. If I say vain, what are certain disadvantages of it? That after all, we are social being. In fact, great thoughts and everything comes out when we meet, interact directly with our colleagues. So that social interaction will be basically lost by everyone. And it also, I mean, particularly people who are extrovert, It also generates helps in developing better mental health. It is also that inadequate this interaction many a times through the conversation, collaboration gets generated when directly you talk to. Probably otherwise it is very formal affair if you virtually trying to get help from someone. And when people, your old colleagues, few colleagues meet together over coffee and everything, that also help in building great culture, team collaboration, as I have said. And at times, it is also, if you are working from home, at times maybe somebody might be bit driven, detracted by some issues in terms of some household issues or something urgent. And of course, we may not consider it, but running the office situation, it needs a special part of the house which might may not be available many times for the employee. So these are some of the aspects which might not impact positively. So these are certain pros and cons, bones and bane. But I would say that it appropriately looking at situation as some of the parameters I have shared, it might apply it based on the situation. I belong to a very, very hardcore manufacturing company where I find that operations, shop floor activities, all these things cannot be done in remote working where it is must. Whereas in some of the office places, corporate office and some of the IT and other related areas, I think it can be done. So with appropriate discipline, appropriate guideline, I think both are good and can be applied by any organization with a very, very decisive manner. That's what I want to contribute in this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pathak. Mr. Majid, would you like to continue?
Sure, Sachi, thank you so much. And indeed, a lot of good points that Mr. Pathak brought up, right? And as he rightly mentioned, every coin has two sides to it, right? You might find certain things good about work from home. You might find certain things which are not so good about work from home, right? Unless you have a coin from the movie Sholay, where both the sides were similar, right? So definitely, let me first talk about what are the things that possibly have become better with this work from home kind of concept, right? If you look at work from home as an environment, right? This environment is less supervised, right? You do not really have somebody who's there to administer you. So what happens in turn, as individuals, you become more responsible, more accountable, right, for the kind of productivity that you need to bring in at the workplace. At the same time, what also happens is that many a times you will hear from people that they generally travel for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? And this is very common in cities like Delhi, NCR, Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, etc. Today, what has happened is that people are using that time to do something productive, right? For many of us, traveling without doing anything, although we continue to be on calls, we continue to be on mails if we are traveling, but majority of your frontline workers, right, today, if they are working from home, they are saving a lot of time that they used to spend on traveling. So what it does to you, definitely it helps you in developing a better, peace of mind, better mental health, less stress. And maybe when you are kind of away from all these drawbacks, your productivity also kind of becomes better, right? Now, let me talk about organizations in various industries. Okay, if you look at the work from home concept, it has helped many companies immensely. One, that the real estate cost for many organizations actually has come down. Their other overhead expenses have also come down in terms of electricity and various other things, right? A lot of expenses that they used to incur to manage and maintain the facility, right? Even they do continue to manage and maintain the facilities, but those are not very similar to what it used to be earlier, right? So those expenses have kind of come down. So it is helping the organization, right? majority of the companies which are primarily in the service sector, they continue to use this as a concept where they see a benefit out of it, right? They have got right set of mechanism to control the work environment, to monitor people, to ensure that the productivity levels are on the higher side. So through some of those mechanisms, I think they've still been able to maintain similar level of work ethics as well as productivity. But at the same time, a lot of overheads have come down in terms of cost. So these are some of the very, very prominent advantages that I have possibly seen and felt with this work from home kind of concept. Now, certain things which are not really working, right? If you have heard, a lot of people in the industry, they generally feel that when you are in a physical environment, the rapport building becomes easier, right? You can easily come across somebody, bump into each other, and take a walk for a cup of tea or coffee. And while you are walking, you will do chit chatting, you will try to know each other, and a lot of things for which you will have to possibly take a formal route and wait for longer duration can be done in a shorter duration when you are in a physical work environment, right? So that connect is always better when you are physically working from the office. At the same time, trust building, right? Many a times is a challenge when you are operating remotely. But when you're working together in one particular office, it is easier for you to kind of understand the other person and build that trust. Third is that while we are all working from home for the last 1 year and a half, right, you will see that the industry has been hiring a lot of people, right? And this is something which is going on everywhere across all different organizations. If that is happening, the connect that the employee used to kind of get earlier during 100% physical work environment after joining the organization, that connect building has become a humongous task, right? So inclusivity, to me, it appears would have been better had people gotten inducted in the organization while we were all operating physically from offices, which has become tougher in today's context. And that is where you will definitely find certain good things about work from home as a concept, and certain things which are little more complex in nature as it used to be earlier in the past. So that's my submission, Sachi.
Mr. Jagmohan, would you like to add your views?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everybody, and it's a pleasure to be here on this panel. But before I start, Sundra, next time it should be physical, because the kind of background my friend Salil is having, it is putting water in my mouth. And of course, Salil, I would request you to please send us some of these goodies to us virtually. Of course, now, of course, currently we are buying it. Next time, please give it to us as goodies.
Yeah, we would love to have Cadbury's.
Apart from Cadbury's, there are many other things in the background. He's making a mouth watering out of thing. So this is a disadvantage of having a virtual meet, particularly for the participants. And
you have my promise, you have my commitment, Jagmohan.
done,
You will
done,
get
done.
those products.
Thank you, thank you. I believe you, but many virtual promises are not adhered to.
No,
So
we'll do that in the physical meeting, and which Vasundhara will ensure that we meet
yes,
physically, just like last
definitely.
time. So yeah.
Definitely. So it's a very interesting topic. There have been so many memes which had come up. I'm going to share one small screen with you guys. So if you see, you must have seen these kind of memes: business at the bottom and comfy at the bottom, business at the top and comfy at the bottom, of course. And many times we have also experienced this kind of dresses, and the complete dressing wardrobe had changed in last 1 year. You must have got some nice shirts with and shorts also, which is a formal shorts. And there was a game which was going on that we should have this dress made mandatory in the corporate world also. I mean, in the offices also. So this is the advantage of working at home, and at the same time, that as my friend mentioned, Dr. Pathak mentioned that there's a lot of advantages of particularly being saved from the bad traffic, particularly in Mumbai. which is there. You get stuck here, particularly in rains, the road, there are no roads only. So these are some advantages of remote working. And this is particularly, I'm talking from the corporate point of view, because we have got our sales guys also, I call them medical representatives, who meet the doctors. So if I give to that example, there is an advantage that they can reach the doctors and their wholesalers through WhatsApp call or through a platform called like Viva, we call it. But there are disadvantages also, because many times, you never know what is doctor doing on other hand. So it is important for us, because doctors these days are the most sought after individuals, particularly during COVID times. And if we make a call at a wrong time, I mean, it may irritate our customer. So that these are some of the disadvantages, of having a remote working, a remote calling. However, some of the doctors, they have adapted to it and they have kept a particular timing for remote calling. But then in emergencies, there is no remote calling. You have to patient is always the first priority as per the Hippocrates oath. So it is important that we have to ensure that we have understand and have empathy with the customer. And remote working, remote calling, particularly for sales guys, is little still challenging, although I've written a book on virtual selling. But that still is, I'm saying, the face-to-face selling is always much more preferred by the sales guys. Disadvantages, yes. Before pandemic, I was knowing only how to change the cylinder, but today I know a lot of things, that where is the masala and where is the sugar and salt. So I have also to help my wife also sometimes. So these are some of the things. The disadvantage was that I know how to clean the floor also using the mop. So I mean, even if the meeting is going on, my dialogues are copied by my wife. Okay, listen to me. I will put my point forward. Let me put my point of view. So she repeats all those dialogues after me. So these are some of the disadvantages, that what seriousness you are having in the office, that is gone away from the home front. Uh, Disadvantages are again some of the disadvantages, that uh, many times the seriousness of the office atmosphere is not brought out in the home environs. Because number one, because you are not in a proper formal dress. Even if you are formal dress upwards, down the line you are in shorts. Okay, so that is where the seriousness here doesn't come out. That is advantage. Second biggest disadvantage is the work never finishes here at home. It never finishes. You people think that you are at home only, so you can take up the Zoom call any point of time. So whether it is your colleague or your customer or blah blah, it becomes a little painful area from that point of view. So I would always suggest that we should have a hybrid approach. And whenever there are days when I am doing office working, and when are days when work from home. So in a hybrid approach, it is always more efficient and affordable kind of thing. I hope I was able to put forward my points. Thank you very much. Over to you, Vasundhara.
And that is why, Jagmohan, it is said that work from home should be taken as work from home rather than work 24/7.
Rather than work for home.
Yes, and also super.
Work from home should be taken from work from home, not work for home.
Very nice, Mr. Jagmohan. You brought the realistic, the the real issues.
So over to you, Vasundhara. I think she's taking time. Salil, can you come forward, please?
Yeah. Sanchi, should I go ahead? Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Great. So first of all, I think my learned colleagues have shared quite a few points, and Jagmohan agree with many things that you said. So was the case with Sudhanshu and Majid. So I'll try and not cover what has already been covered, but there are about 3 points which are slightly additional points that I think I would like to cover here. So first of all, I think there are separate groups within an organization for whom remote working could be a boon or a bane. There are pluses and minuses, on both sides. But when we talk about the large population in any organization, especially an organization which is direct to consumer, frontline sales, organization. So the way Jagmohan talked about the medical reps, but if I talk about, Mondelez, It's the sales executives who go to the kirana shops, local kirana shops, who go to the medical stores, who go to the panwala shops, where you will see all these Cadbury products. I don't think it was a boon for them to, really have this compulsion of remote working, sitting in home and trying to take orders from these people. Anybody who is really in frontline sales, I don't think they will really enjoy, remote working, because it does impact on their, sales numbers. It does impact on their targets. It does impact ultimately on their sales incentive. So if I look at my organization, large chunk of this population, which is the frontline sales, I don't think they really were very happy. They were, of course, worried, and therefore they had to work from home during the lockdown or when their area was in containment zone and so on and so forth. But I don't think they really enjoyed it. When it comes to office-based employees, yeah, I think that's where you will start seeing some of the advantages, and as many of you guys have already put up, there are certain clear advantages of working from home during this period, and having this remote work advantage, and there are certain positives. I'm not going to repeat what has already been said, but I would like to differentiate between the large population of an organization vis-a-vis office-based employees. That's point number one. Point number two is, personally, in my view, under any circumstances, we must not have remote working as the standard model, for any organization, because it impacts the social capital of the organization significantly. I think that's the second point. As some of you have mentioned, those corridor conversations, those coffee chats, it cannot be replicated in a virtual medium, whether you're on Zoom or Teams or wherever you are. It's just not the same. You are just not able to have the same kind of interaction that you would have in canteen when you're having your lunch and you're sharing your tiffin, or in corridor where you're probably gossiping about your bosses and talking about some interesting things. That social capital is a big loss of remote working. And I think that's where I personally feel that it was okay to see that we had to work in remote manner, work from home, because of pandemic, and we managed it well across the world, including India. Initially there were thoughts about how the bandwidth will be sufficient for so many people working from home, but luckily everything went well. But I don't think that's a long-term solution. So social capital requires office going employees, and that's how it will happen. And connected to that, third point is what Google has done recently. Many of you would have read, they have asked for employees to come back, and they have gone to such an extent that if employees choose to work from home, their compensation will be lower than those who are going into the offices. I think that's a clear example where a large global organization is trying to set a precedent, saying, look, we want that social capital. We want people to come to the offices. We are fine if somebody chooses to work from home, but then there will be something which will be missed out in terms of compensation. So I think that's where I see that it's more tilted towards remote working, not as a boon, more as a challenge. And slowly but steadily, people will start going back to offices. Those are my 2 cents.
And Sachi and Vasundhara, just to add to what Salil said, right, the last point, it is only fair for organizations to kind of think differently in terms of compensating people in different ways, right? Because if you look at the compensation structure with most of the organizations, there's definitely an element of city compensatory allowance or dearness allowance, right? So somebody sitting in New Jersey or New York will definitely spend more as compared to somebody sitting somewhere in countryside, right? So it is only fair for organizations to differentiate in terms of paying different compensations to people depending upon work from home or working remotely from tier 3, tier 4 kind of cities or towns.
It was a great discussion. Thank you for your views. Our second topic is hard skills versus soft skills. Which of them are more important? Mr. Jagmohan, if you would like to start.
Okay. Opening the second innings with me now, of course. Good. Love to do it. In fact, hard skills versus soft skills. If I understand the question very clearly, I will put in this particular manner that I will put hard skills as the technical skills, which are basically required because of qualification and other things, and the concepts which are required. Suppose we have a medico marketing team which helps the marketing team with respect to marketing of our brands. So those are required based on which we do the concepts and other things. And those are essential, definitely, because of which you are getting hired in the organization. But at the same time, I would say that in case somebody has to become successful and rise in the ladder of the career in a corporate world, one has to have a very, very important is soft skills, because alone you can't win the world, or alone you can't establish the brands. You have to take people along, and for that soft skills are very required. And soft skills, particularly on communication, interpersonal communication, or we call it neuro linguistic programming, which is very, very essential to understand having empathy with the people. I mean, I have seen people who are coming from very established B schools, or maybe engineering organizations, and they come out, they land up in a corporate world, and with that kind of egos that I am coming from this institute and that institute, and expecting that people would welcome with a red carpet. That doesn't happen. One has to be a little grounded and humble, and that is how. So in Hindi they say na, फल उसको लगता है, फल उसी पेड़ को लगता है जो झुकता है. So that is what exactly I must say, that one, even if you are having IIT, IIM, or ISB or Harvard with you, but if you are not humble, then the possibility of you are breaking down is much higher. So it is important that we be humble and have those skills, particularly soft skills, be it interpersonal skills, empathy, understanding of the softer body languages than which are there during a communication, which are very, very essential. Why I'm mentioning is because in my previous book called Are You a Digital Dinosaur, where I have seen that people who are digital masters, digital marketing guys, they focus so much on digital marketing concepts that they forget on these softer aspects of it. But I've gone through the campaigns, digital marketing campaigns, which have run successfully. If you, I've just give an example of Cadbury, since my friend is here. So you must be remembering that ad which used to be there in the girl running in the ground, when the team wins. People still remember it over there. So it's an ad, but it touched the softer aspects of it. So similarly, if you are doing the hard skills, the ad campaign was done, but it was targeted at heart, not at the head only. So that is what exactly, it doesn't happen that everybody runs on the ground, but it was basically touching the heart. I mean, on other hand, if you see, there was an ad which was by Fevikwik, I think so. The guy was putting Fevikwik on the rod, and Runda Munda Chunda, what he says something, and he catches a fish, right? So it was basically nothing about logical thing, because Fevikwik se fish pakada nahi jayega. But it was basically a humor part, which again touched the audience accordingly. Similarly, when we talk about in our healthcare part also, whether we are meeting a customer who's a doctor, or whether doctor is meeting the patient, so it is important that they focus on the emotional part. Rather, I said ulta. You should focus on the emotional part and not on the head part accordingly. So that is what exactly. Otherwise, there's something locha happens in the head part, and that is what you lose the whole balance. I think you must have heard about Jadoo Ki Chakri. It works a lot, and I have literally seen there was when I was a salesperson. I remember there was a doctor, Dr. Jacob, in Christian Medical College in Ludhiana, and I saw that one patient was sitting in front of him, and he was having pain in this wrist. He prescribed him the medicine, and after that medicine, he said, what you have to do here is you have to rub this ointment, and 3 times you rub it, and then blow it, and then again you rub it 10 times. Okay. So the patient went away. I asked Dr. Jaga, I said, what is this? You told him like this. He said it is psychological, because it will engage him that he is doing something on his own on the arm, and at the same time he is blowing some mantras on it, and as a result, that will be taken care. So what doctor was doing is he was using the neuro-linguistic programming, at the same time using the hard skills of prescribing the right medicine. So that combination works. That is the reason you all have preferences for doctors. You all have preferences for dentists also. So similarly, in a corporate world, my dear friend, if a person has to really rise, have hard skills, but at the same time have softer skills also. Thank you very much.
Mr. Panse, would you like to continue?
Sure, sure. Thanks, Sanchi. And since Jagmohan mentioned about Cadbury's again, I think, yes, that ad, by the way, probably also because at some point in time it was Preeti Zinta who was running on the ground. That could have been also the reason why people still remember it. But I agree with you. I think, it touches the heart. And I think, that's one thing that Mondelez as an organization has done very well. But when it comes to this question of, soft skills versus hard skills, I think, uh, I have a slightly divergent view. I don't think the debate is about, today, about soft skills or hard skills. We all know that, we need both of them, with sufficient amount, depending on the requirement of your role. But upskilling is to me the new mantra, the latest requirement of the corporate world as compared to what was, let's say, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, you would still be in a position where you are in a particular role and you can try and make your career. But come pandemic, come work from home, come all the changes that have happened in the last 1.5 years, uh, upskilling yourself has become significantly more important for every single person. I mean, simple skill of working from home. How do you manage, as Jagmohan put it, how do you manage to avoid those disadvantages of, where the masala is put up and where the sugar is, and how am I going to make the tea while my wife is working in another room, and having her meeting. We had to upgrade ourselves in terms of our skills of managing our time, managing work at home and the work for office. I mean, that's just a small light example, but the point is, to me, upskilling has become more important. And that is where I think both hard skills and soft skills sort of come together. You need to develop new skills to ensure that you stay relevant. And I'll give you an example of my own function, recruiting. Kind of connecting back to the previous topic of remote working, I think it's been a boon for recruiters, right? I mean, today you have so many jobs which are location agnostic jobs. You don't really have to necessarily ask the question, are you open for relocation? Because even if the person is not, we are comfortable to present that candidate for a particular role, because we know that anyways we are not going to go to office and we're not going to call everybody to office in the near future. So that's an advantage. But when we are talking to the same candidate, we need to really be very, very careful to evaluate the learning agility that the candidate has shown over the last 1.5 years, how the person has been able to upskill himself or herself in that particular role or in that particular organization. And that is where both soft skills and hard skills do come into the picture. You're on video interviews today. You are not going to be able to feel the pulse of the candidate, or as recruiters would call it, the gut feel. When you're talking to the person face to face to us, assess how interested is he in us. So, to be able to understand that pulse, on virtual platforms, to be able to get a grip on the candidate in terms of, his career aspirations and or his or her career aspirations, or what is it that they're looking for, you need to really upgrade yourself in terms of softer skills to be able to connect with the candidate. That's what I would talk about the recruiting aspect. And on the hard skill part, again, on the recruiting aspect, social media obviously has been an important sourcing tool for us. But networking now has gone to a different level. I mean, you have WhatsApp, you have Facebook, and you have many other tools. So the hard skills of how do we source candidates, even at the frontline sales level. I mean, gone are the days where area managers are moving around and are able to identify candidates. They are working on WhatsApp groups. So those hard skills also have to be picked up. And I think that's where both soft skills and hard skills, essentially what is required in my view is ability to upskill yourself as a professional. And that's really the change that has happened today.
Dr. Partha, would you like to share your views?
Yes, quite good viewpoints came in this topic. Let me also put across conceptually how I would like to talk about it. That whether it is hard skill and soft skill, a business needs both. I can correlate more in terms of, say, manufacturing a product versus selling a product. So maybe that manufacturing a product, what would be more involving things would be probably more about the engineering and R&D and technology and operations. So there maybe that it is more in terms of the hard skills. When it comes to the selling, of course, it is more about the soft skill. As we recruit a number of graduate engineer trainees, for example, if I am recruiting graduate engineer trainees, a mechanical engineer or polymer science engineer, then probably what my per se more lookout, I'm not underestimating anything, more lookout would be his or her engineering knowledge, the kind of project he has done or kind of innovative, creative thoughts he has. But if I have to recruit management trainee, for example, in my sales or marketing areas, probably those softer skills would be more important for me. So it is what comes immediately in mind is that if we talk about hard skill, what comes is the product. When we talk about soft skill, what comes in mind is selling. So product versus selling, manufacturing versus it is selling, taking to people. I would like to also bring a viewpoint here that soft skills are not soft enough. Those are also very hard that one can acquire. I would say that if I say that product management, it could be a hard skill, but people management, particularly people management is a soft skill. And I have in my long years of being in corporate, particularly learning and development and coaching and training and everywhere, I have seen that more and more when you go upward in the hierarchy, it is more and more your this people management skill, and more it is your softer skill. And it is basically the understanding that another human being and communication and putting across your very viewpoints. And it is more about emotional intelligence that actually drives the leadership style ultimately and makes someone a great leader. So I have seen that with softer skill, people probably can manage the harder aspects. Even take a very small example, like I might be preparing with a lot of content, relevant content, a particular presentation, for example. As far as preparing the presentation, a PPT, that might require a lot of hard skill. But ultimately the same PPT, same presentation, people having great skill in the software area can make a great, breakthrough while presenting it to people. So basically the people interface, what I understand is that product interface is the hard skill. People interface is the soft skill. Now, if you look at a huge organization like mine, that it is starting from manufacturing and then it is, doing R&D, doing design, and ultimately get to the market. And then, so you will get pockets of specialization, pockets of domain, pockets of your functional areas where it would be relatively important, where relatively more versus relatively more softer skill is needed. If there is a few engineers working in the R&D cell, probably they are what is more looked at is the hard skill part. But when it is point of that doing marketing or selling job, it is a softer skill. But I would say, as many of my co-panelists have already said, it is not right, or it cannot be differentiated whether hard skill or soft skill. It is both. At different point of time in your journey as a professional, you actually use in a different proportion about it, but you need basically both of it. And today's situation, when people are required to work in a virtual mode, for example, I am working in virtual mode, I think I am responsible for both. I am responsible for the hard aspect as well as the softer aspect. So I create something, I generate something, and then virtually I have to communicate the same thing to my other colleagues. And then my communication and all those things are too important. So as L&D leader, as HR leader, I think it is both important, but you have to be a bit specific in terms of knowledgeable, where what is proportionately required more. That is how I would like to conclude this. And thank you very much.
Mr. Khan, your views?
Sure. Thank you, Sachi. Great thoughts. A lot of good inputs, right? And different perspectives from all of them, right? Salil, Jagmohan, as well as Dr. Patak. So, Sachi, the way I look at this, right? Hard skills definitely, are as is, right? All of us would possibly look at hard skills as certain level of knowledge, certain level of competency, certain level of capability which is required for somebody to do the job well, right? Which is basic, it's given. Okay. Soft skills, right? So the way I understand soft skills, or the way I look at soft skills as an individual, for me these are nothing but human skills, right? These skills are skills for life, which generally, we will apply either at the workplace or outside the workplace. So let me elaborate upon that by telling you a very short story, right? There is a guy who comes from a small town, goes to normal school, goes to a normal college, a degree college, which is not one of those premier colleges like IITs or IIMs, etc., and was able to attain a good qualification, a master's degree with good percentages. This fellow goes for an interview, and when he's sitting for an interview, there are 10 other people sitting alongside, and the majority of them were from very prestigious and well-known colleges and universities from the country. And he was nervous. He was nervous whether or not he will get selected. Uh, he thought maybe these guys are coming from bigger cities, bigger towns, more qualified, or rather, carrying qualifications from well-known universities and colleges. Maybe my chances are less. However, he still thought of going ahead and giving that interview. 2, 3 people went for the interview, they came back, then his turn comes. So he had to go to the third floor. He was sitting on the ground floor, and then he had to go to the third floor to attend the interview. On his way, when he was climbing up the stairs, he found a lot of lights being switched on during the daytime when it was bright. It was a bright sunny day with a lot of ventilation and lighting, and there was no need for those lights to be kept switched on. So he started, finding switches, and he kept putting off those lights one by one till the time he reached the interview cabin. After he reaches the interview cabin, the person who was supposed to conduct his interview takes his file, looks at his CV, looks at his certificates, etc., and then said that, fair enough, when are you joining us? So this person was surprised. And he goes on to ask, sir, you did not conduct my interview and you are asking me about my date of joining. Then the person who was conducting the interview, he said that I am looking for a good human being. I am looking for a person carrying right kind of human skills, which will help my organization. And he said, how do you feel so? Then this interviewer goes on to explain, saying that I have got cameras at each and every entry, exit, and other points within the office premise. And I can see everything on my screen in terms of who is doing what. So I was watching you while you were, on your way towards my cabin, and I could see that you were switching off those lights, which were on unnecessarily. So what you did, you went on to consume energy and power for us, despite the fact that it doesn't really affect you. What it says that you are a good human being. And that is why you are getting selected for your attitude, for your good human skills. And that's my submission, Sachi, right? Some of these things are very important. And when I get a chance to hire for my own department, which I seldom do, right? Touch wood, I have been able to have my people with me for longer duration. But whenever I get a chance to hire for my own department, more than the knowledge and the hard skill which is required for somebody to perform the given job, what I look for is the attitude and some of these human skills. Thank you.
Very very well said discussion. Now, I would request our audience to keep posting their questions on the Q&A section. Now it's time for a poll around our mystery topic, where our audience will decide the third topic. Would request all of you to be a part of it and vote for the topic you want to listen to. So the poll will be running for 1 minute.
Rishi sir would request you to please make it live because now you are having the host rights.
Can you see the poll?
Not right now. Yeah, now it is visible. Would request everyone to please vote for the topic you want our panelists to debate on. Requesting audience to please vote. We haven't received any response. Rishi sir, I think it is not yet live.
It's live. I can see the changes happening.
Okay. Okay.
Panelist, can you see the poll? Yeah.
I don't see any poll.
I can see the panelist. 6 people. I can see the poll. 6 people have voted, and so far. And if you want, I can demonstrate. I can show the results also. 6 out of 8 have posted it. So 75% participation has happened. So I've ended the poll. I'm sharing the result now. Can you see the results?
Yes, yes, sir. So the audience have voted for what do you prefer, work to learn or learn to work? This is going to be our next topic.
Work to
So,
learn or learn to work.
yeah.
Interesting. It's a. I was just thinking the same thing that you're going to give us a googly by Ashwin, or R Ashwin. So difficult to bat it on that particular page. So let us see how we can take it forward. Majid, you would like to go forward first?
Yeah, before I go forward, right, I think, as a nation, we are too influenced by our Indian film industry and cricket. So majority of the time, the kind of examples that we keep giving either is from cricket or from the limelight industry.
Bollywood.
Yes.
Absolutely. People connected with it very easily.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Very true. Very true.
जैसे आपको देख के सलमान खान याद आ रहा है. ठीक है.
Good. So, Jagman, I would request if you could possibly repeat the question one more time. Sorry, I was so engrossed looking at
what would you prefer? What would you prefer? Work to learn or learn to work?
Oh, wonderful. So, it's a hard choice to make, right? Because for any job to be done, for us to work and perform any task, there is a concept which is called as MSR. MSR is nothing but minimum skills which are required for somebody to get into a job. So it is definitely right to say that learn to work, right, is one thing. At the same time, you cannot at any given point in time think or assume that you know it all. And if at all you have to stay relevant, if you have to stay contemporary and continue to work, you will also have to continue to work and learn at the same time. So this is how I look at it, Jagmohan.
Okay. Dr. Pathak, would you like to give a shot?
Yes, I think first of all, this is very good point. This two sentences: work to learn and learn to work. What really struck me, what really encourages me more about is that being in HR particularly, work to learn. I find more openness in this particular part of this phrase, that attitude should be such that okay, let me work out and I will land up in some additional learning. So there is no choice as such that what work really I want. Whereas in the second case, learn to work. Learning is preset. I mean, it might raise a point that this is not in my domain of learning. So whether I'll be, working on a particular area or not, there might be issue of choice. But what I believe that a very, very open, plain attitude that you give any task, people will get into it and they will actually work. And out of almost any kind of work, they will find some meaning into it. Whether it is a very structured, unstructured, this, that kind of whatever job. This is a kind of an attitude I have always loved. That people do not have any particular, choice that this falls in my line of learning domain, so I must be working on this and all. But someone who gets into work and almost from any work learn things out of getting involved, engaged. In the first sentence, I find that more chances of engagement and getting some wisdom out of it. Whereas in the second part, of course, learn to work, that first learning happens before work. That might create a boundary mindset that if it is not in my learning domain, I may or may not, I might choose for it. Both are important, but I think that going with open mind, work and learn out of it, that would be a better choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Pathak. In fact, I'd like to add one more thing before I ask Salil to say. I would like to work to learn and earn Cadbury's. So let me go to Salil now.
You know what?
I think Mr. Jagmohan is getting very much difficulty without Cadbury.
Yeah, definitely.
Salil, please do something.
Yeah, I think Salil will now have to not even wait for the next physical meeting to happen. Something would be sent to your home address.
Yeah. So we have, by the way, started for last few years we have been having a gifting site, online e-commerce site where you can place order exclusively Cadbury site. So I'm sure I'm going to use that. I'm going to recommend that to Jagmohan also. But let me tell you, I mean, it is exactly customers like him, who are so such diehard fans of our products. And today, of course, we are moving beyond chocolates, and I hope you had the cakes that we have launched recently, Jagmohan. You will like that as well. But this, of course, I will send you the Cadbury products. But this question, when you ask, and now when you throw the Cadbury chocolate into the picture, I am actually thinking that I have to, before discussing work to learn or learn to work, I have to learn how to work in an office first. I think that is where I am right now. We haven't opened our offices at all. I haven't seen my office, my desk for more than a year and a half. And I think it's going to be a huge unlearn and relearn to go back to office. I'll have to change my wardrobe. Definitely my wardrobe in 2020 February is not going to fit me now at all. That's the unfortunate reality. It starts from there. Then I have to get up really early in the morning to ensure that I beat the traffic and reach office in time. I don't have to do that right now. I can just get up and start my calls. And then, of course, some of the dressing, sense that you showed, Jagmohan, in the initial part of the discussion, right? So for me, that is going to be a challenge. Therefore, answering this question is a bit difficult, but I would personally prefer that I would work to learn. I mean, that is how I see the professional world. You will have all the learnings and your education and some other training, etc., before you start your corporate journey. But I think the real learning is on the job learning, right? I mean, it's the 70-20-10 rule that we all talk about. And therefore, to me, convincingly, I can say, work to learn is my preference. And that's what I have experienced, and I have no shame in saying that while I did my MBA in HR, I don't think I understood much when I was doing my MBA in HR. I really understood it when I started working with my clients. I've been in TA throughout, and well, I definitely work to learn more, and I would say that that's my preference on this topic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Salil. That doesn't mean that you will not give me like Cadbury. You will give me Cadbury along with other chocolates also. Okay.
And biscuits, so
Yeah.
let me advertise more. We are big time into biscuits. Oreo is already there. You have Bonvita biscuits, some more coming up. The cookies have come in already, the chocolate filled cookies. So yeah, we will send you all the products.
That doesn't mean I will promote my diabetes medicine. I don't want you to have any diabetes medicine. Okay. You walk and be healthy. Okay. Coming to my point of view, I will say that, definitely there was a study which was done that clearly showed that, people who get learning opportunities in the organization, they stick around better. Okay. Apart from, of course, vitamin M, which is there, that is there. But those people who get learning opportunities in the company, they stick around better than those who not. In fact, there is a clear-cut example that out of the IT companies, the companies like Infosys or TCS, or Emphasis, they get much better preferences because there are opportunities to grow and learn in the process, kind of thing. So that is where, as HR professionals, we also have to create those kind of touch points, multiple touch points, and we also create a structure in the process that they learn in the process. And there is a job rotation which is happening, and it is all because of learning on the job. So that is something which I agree. In fact, when I was in Pfizer, we had this policy that the sales guy can be transferred to HR department and he was HR business partner, and he had a better understanding of the people on the street. Fleet on the street, so there was a better connect of that person. In fact, then of course there was a transfer to finance department also, and those people who did not have those qualifications, they were trained on those particular aspects, and they were basically preparing them to become a CEO. So that is the quality of a good organization, that we as HR professionals, we create opportunities, the touch points, and structure in such a manner that there is a learning while they're working accordingly. So I can keep on going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The Q&A, because we are running out of time, we'll answer all the questions offline.
Thank you.
On behalf of Shine.com, I would like to thank our panelists today. Thanks everyone for being a wonderful audience and making the session so much interactive. Recording of the webinar will be shared with all the attendees along with the feedback mail. Thanks everyone. This is Sanchi signing off.
Signing off, everybody. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Get
Thank you, Mr.
vaccinated.
Jagmohan. Thank you, Salil. Thank you, Majid.
Thank you
Nice
very
Thanks
much.
meeting.
to
Thank
the
you.
panelists for being here.
Thank
Let
you.
us
Bye-bye.
get connected on LinkedIn,
Sure.
of course. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take